Welcome to Platinum Zerg Replay Analysis. This is Zerg versus Protoss on one of the new maps, El Dorado. And our Protoss has started off with BLDHF. And then a surprised frowny face, which I think is bad luck, don't have fun. Zackling really starting off with a hostile tone. Okay, let's just take a look at what we're doing with our build. We're doing a drone scout, which this is like a comfort thing for people where you do get to see more of what your opponent is doing. But just to articulate something for you, in case you aren't really aware, drones mine at a rate of 1 mineral per second. So I'm going to take a few moments here with you. We're going to go on a journey. And this is the journey of the drone scout, just so we know what we're sacrificing for the scout. Okay, here's the drone. I have to go back to when it first left the base. Okay. And I know this might seem tedious, so bear with me, but this is important because I see a lot of players do this. All right, 24 seconds. I'm going to write this down just so we don't forget. Where's my pencil? There's pencil. Got it. All right. Pencil and paper is one of the most powerful tools ever invented. And I have pencil and paper right here. All right. We've got 24 seconds on the clock. The drone leaves the mineral line. Okay, 24 seconds. Let's see what this drone is doing. Okay. I just want to wait until it gets back to the base. If drones mine at a rate of 1 mineral per second, then we can calculate the sacrifice in minerals that we committed to getting this information. Okay, drone gets to the base. The drone turns around. Okay. We're coming back. Okay. Great. Okay. All right, so the drone goes to fight a cannon rush, but let's assume that the drone just went here and saw no base and turned around and then went back to mining. In the example case that there wasn't a cannon rush here, this would have been about a minute, maybe a little bit more than a minute. So about 60, let's say 60 to 70 minerals. That was the sacrifice that we made with the drone scout, which could have been another drone and a half, roughly. A drone and a half we sacrificed to be able to get that information. Now let's talk about response to whatever they're doing. Let's talk about the response in our build. My personal opinion is if you're scared of Protoss cheese, just open 16 pool and then 17 hatch. If you're scared. Drone scouting, it's a big sacrifice. Going pool first is less of a big sacrifice because all your drones still have full uptime. So we're getting our Overlord and a drone. Cool, making 2 more drones. So at 16, we're really thinking, do we want to take a base or a pool? I don't like droning up to 17 here. And then your second Overlord should just live here. I named my second Overlord Francisco the Funny Business Overlord because the funny business happens here, because that's where you want to expand. And then another thing is, mentally speaking, you should always expect your opponent to do the nastiest thing possible. Because they're not in a contest to show you the cleanest, most correct, proper match of StarCraft 2. That's not the win condition. The win condition is to piss you off and mess up your base so much that you quit. That's what they're trying to do to you. So when you go against Protoss, you want to immediately think at the start of the game, Proxy 4 Gate Zealot, Cannon Rush, Adept All-Ins. What are they doing? This kind of pro block, this wouldn't have worked if we took a base at 16. They probably would have just started cannoning you over here. That's fine. Oh good, your second Overlord's here. And if this is here, we don't need to be stressing too much because they delayed their own build. This 100 mineral that the pylon cost, this could have been invested toward a Nexus or a Gateway or a Cyber Core or an Assimilator. So this is them delaying the game for themselves and for you to try to make you uncomfortable. And that's why I would highly recommend, if you struggle against cannon rushes, just open 16 pool. No drone scout. That way you'll have 6 lings to be biting this stuff really early. And you could even take your base here instead and then just take this as your third. So these kind of, they're trying to set you off balance plays. You don't really need to stress about it too much because they're delaying themselves at the same time. You just want to keep moving forward in your tech. Because they did this, we completely froze. We stopped using our larva, we didn't make a pool, and we didn't make a base. We're like, ugh. And that's okay. This is an investment in your experience, and I've made this mistake before too. Because you get in the mindset of, I'm going to go hatch gas pool. And then a pro blocks the hatch, and you're like, what am I going to do now? I can't go hatch here. Do I go hatch somewhere else? Do I get a pool? Do I try to defend this? You have all these questions, and that's what replay analysis is really good for. Here, I would say you need to really iron out, am I a 16 hatch Zerg or am I a 16 pool Zerg against Protoss? Because if you go 16 hatch and they cannon rush you, sometimes you will lose the hatch. That's just how it goes. If you go 16 pool, it's a bit safer, but it's not quite as economical as 16 hatch. So here, we're not really doing any optimal opening. We drone scouted, and then now we're pulling drones. We don't need to pull drones here. We're still making money in the main. And our opponent isn't able to afford gas or a second base if they're building a bunch of shit at our base. So this response to the cannon rush is a huge overreaction. Wow, they lost the probe. That's crazy. And remember, drone through the pressure. Write it on your fridge. Write it on a piece of paper. Put it on a sticky note. Drone through the pressure. Hellions in your base, killing your drones, drone through the pressure. Cannon rush attacking your stuff and you can't make lings, drone through the pressure. We have 3 larvae here. We need uptime. They need to be morphing into drones. When they do this kind of cannon rush of the natural stuff, you have quite a few options as a Zerg. One option is, like we're doing here, is just like stubbornly try to stop everything that's being built. You can do that. Or you can spawning pool double gas and make 5 Ravagers. 5 Ravagers can use corrosive bile to kill buildings and then move out on the map. Or you can go double gas, ling speed, 1 queen into a lair, and then you can Nidus them in the main. But so far, this is a very scuffed game. It's a platinum game though, so it's not supposed to be GSL Code S. This is fine. Our opponent has set themselves very far behind, and we've set ourselves very far behind as well. But we got a hatch. We got a hatch. That's great. Just sending some drones down here to see stuff. I know I spent a lot of time on the early game, but the early game is what you need to polish first. If your early game is a disaster, your mid game is going to be flimsy. So you need to make sure your early game is tight and you know what your responses are to stuff. Putting drones in the gas here, getting a pool. We're making more drones. Okay, this is another great note. Do not distance mine drones. It's better to go over 16 workers on minerals, up to 24. Only once you get to 24 do you not increase your mining. The 25th drone makes no additional money for yourself. But right here, this drone has to go all the way down here to get this, and then all the way back up to the base to return it, which is very inefficient when it could just go like this. And there are available slots to have 2 on each one. The general logic is you can have 3 workers on each and it does okay. 3 workers on the long patches is better first, just because they don't have to wait as much and they don't bounce around. 3 workers on the close patches, they tend to like bounce off of this and you lose some uptime there. So don't distance mine. Distance mining like this is always bad. It's better to have this number in the red. I disagreed with Blizzard a little bit when they changed this, because 16 is what the pros end up finishing out with for their worker count. So it looks like you're done, but technically speaking, you're not done. And you still gain value from the 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 drones. All that amount is still good for you, even up to 24. You thought Beyond 16 was useless. Yep. It is still great. Okay, pool's going to be done soon. Double queen insta. Insta, 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 insta. Double queen. And then 4 links. Great. Link speed. Cool. All right, you're Overlord scouting. You see they're doing some stuff. And you're taking a third. All right, so the early game was a scuffed disaster, but our opponent also had a scuffed disaster, so it kind of cancels out. It's starting to look more like a normal game. And like I mentioned in the how to make a StarCraft build, you want to really map out where your gas is going after the first 100 gas. Zerg tends to hit their power spike once they have 3 bases injected. Protoss can hit 2 bases saturated really fast by chrono boosting probes. That's why they have so many strong gateway all-ins and timings, is because chrono boosting probes off of 2 base generates more workers over time than 2 base Zerg droning stuff. Because in-checks take a while to cook up. That doesn't really hit its stride until this base is injected. So right now, we have a very wonky mismatch of we have a whole bunch of Vespene gas and nothing to spend gas in. That's why myself and most other high-level Zergs will pull off of gas after ling speed, and then they'll put back on gas when they're ready to mine again. In a case where you don't have a silly cannon rush start and pulling workers, the general timings are 16 hatch, 18 supply gas, 17 supply pool, get the 100 gas for ling speed and mine it, or sorry, research it, pull off gas, and then at 3:30, as your first inject finishes, the 3 larvae that hit the ground from the first inject, those are rallied into the gas again to restart your gas. I learned that from Cyril. It's just very efficient. It means that you don't have to interrupt drones that were already mining minerals, and you can fill that gas at the time that you need. Cool. Creep at the front. We're droning up. And this is great. I love to see this. So you're in Platinum. This fits with almost everyone I've coached in Platinum. Platinum Zergs, all of y'all's lair is late, by the way. Lair should be 4 minutes to 4:30 on the late end. Actually, 4:30 is on the late end. 4 minutes is pretty sharp and early. The reason that's important is because Dark Templar exists. In this specific match, they can't hit you with DTs that early because they did a weird cannon thing at the beginning. But in most cases, you want to get that 4-minute lair, 4:30 lair, just to get your Overseer tech, to get Roach speed, to be able to unlock Hydras, Spire, stuff like that. So your lair needs to be consistently timed 4 minutes to 4:30. And that would help you spend your gas a little bit. We're taking a second gas. Latest cannon rush of all time. Amazing. Where did the lings go? We don't have any lings. Oh my god. Okay, this is another good learning moment. People do such silly stuff in this game. Okay, let's do some quick maths here. Get your abacus. We've got a probe that was away from the base, so this is somewhere between 50 and 200 minerals of sacrificed mining time from this probe. So they put themselves behind for that. They also put themselves 1 pylon behind. This could have been a zealot. This could have been toward a 3rd nexus. This could have been a gateway in their base. This photon cannon could have been a gateway. This photon could have been a gateway. This photon cannon could have been a gateway. And this one also could have been a gateway. So our Protoss opponent invested a lot of money here compared to what we did. What do we have here? One hatch that is now even cheaper than before. You can actually just mine through this and expand to a gold base instead. There's a point where Protoss puts such a silly amount of stuff at a base that if you don't have the means to defend it, you can just sacrifice that base and expand somewhere else and be ahead. Because just with these 2 cannons alone, this is already more money than this hatch. So for them to have 4 cannons, they're basically investing 2 bases of minerals to kill 1 base of minerals. You're happy. What I would do here, if we can't defend it, is just put a creep tumor here, send this queen to a safe spot, and expand somewhere else. But you've got links, and you hold it. That's great. That's great. I'm going to inject this, and then take a 4th. Add this to your notes. Anytime your opponent yeets units and they all die, expand. This applies to both Zerg versus Protoss, like in this case where they do some silly cannon stuff and all of it gets killed or they lose it. Same thing for versus Terran. If they yeet 6 to 8 Hellions into your base and you kill all of them, instantly take a 4th base. We have the money to do so, and now we have the space. Because we know they didn't make those gateways. They made cannons in my base. They only have 2 gateways. This Protoss does not have shit at home. They have no army. They have a cannon and a couple random zealots. Okay, so layer on time. We are not teching up with any expedience whatsoever. We're Stone Age Zerg. We need to be like hecking Greco-Roman warriors that at least have a decent spear, like a speed roach or something. And then get an Evo. I think after your lair, that's a good 100 gas. The next one be +1 range attack, just to improve your roaches and your queens. If you have +1 range roach queen, you can defend every Protoss all-in that exists, pretty much. And it hits a really good max out power spike. We want to drone this base as fast as possible. This inject should be way faster, super fast, like incredibly fast. Injecting the bases is the most important thing you can be doing. There you go. Spend larva, inject base. Grow. Grow. Go, 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 go. There you go. Nice. So this is a major breakthrough here in droning past 16 and how that's great. Did you know, fun fact, if you drone this base up to 24 out of 16, that's going to give you a red number, which might look ugly and incorrect. But 24 workers minus 2 for the extractors, if you build 2, would put you at 22 out of 16. And then if you put 3 workers in each of those gases, that would be minus 6, and then you'd be back at 16 of 16. So droning a base to 24 before the gases are built is actually a super efficient play. It might not seem like that, but it actually is, because you need that many to have it saturated for gas anyway. So whenever you have the big round of larvae, just a bunch of drones at it, and then when you're like, oh my gosh, I have so many drones at this base, then you can take your gases, you can fill the gases, and if you even have more workers on top of that, you can make a spine if you wanted to, or expand, or take a Bane nest. All of our buildings cost drones to build, so over droning a base is totally fine. Totally fine. Look at this here, 14 out of 16. Ugh, this is like the kind of thing that hurts me to watch. It's like people get OCD when you have a number that's not base 5. For someone who's a seasoned StarCraft player who likes macro games, this is like a travesty. This is like, there's going to be a sad movie about this. Look at this mineral patch. It's a close mineral patch. And it's abandoned right now. Okay, the drone's back. It's so painful. Okay, now these should be cooking right away. Evo chambers finish, boom, they go to work. Boom, they go to work. We have the money. Evo chambers finish, boom, research. Spend the gas. We're supply blocked. 6 overlords. 8 overlords. If you're making roaches off a 3 base economy, overlords should be made 6 to 8 at a time. When you're droning at the start, you can make them 1 to 2 at a time. That's fine. But roaches take a lot of supply. Okay. You're sending some roaches. Now, my question to you is, what are you producing behind the attack? We've been supply blocked this entire time. This entire time we moved out. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. When we move out, it's good to just double check your worker count. So you have 60 workers. I would prefer to have 70 to 80 against Protoss. That would be my preference. Okay. So we inject the bases. We want to make a big round of overlords, like 6 to 8 right here, just so we can unsupply block ourselves. And then as we move out, there's a key decision here of, and someone in chat's pointing out, this is 0 out of 3. This is what happens when you send the drones to the extractor before it has begun creation. So if you just send the drones and right click them to this, they'll do this same thing where they'll just stare at it. And if you make an extractor after that, they'll still just stare at it. The drones will start trying to mine from it if you rally them to an extractor that has already started building, not just a Vespene geyser. There's a small mistake though. It's not the biggest mistake of this game at all. Okay, so we needed to build overlords so we moved out. That's a good note. And then here, this is something that almost no one in Platinum does, and that is build units through the fight. This is a huge way to push yourself up from the Meta Leagues into Diamond, is as you take a fight, you do hatches, larva, and then spam a unit. Let's look at the Protoss and see, do they make units as well? Because most players at this bracket completely freeze their macro to do a fun micro fight. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Okay, they made 2 stalkers. They only have 2 gateways though, so the Protoss made units through the fight, but we did not. And we have how much larva? 19 larva. And we're under-droned of their economy. So we moved out with an economy that put us all in, but then we didn't commit to the all-in by continuing to make army, and we also didn't fix our economy by making drones. So we attacked and froze our macro at home. So before you commit to the fight, the analogy that I like to give is it's taking a deep breath before you swim. Microing in a fight is like doing your crawl stroke and you're not really breathing. You need to spend my larva. Okay, micro. Inject my bases. Micro. Spend my larva. Micro. You have to take those breaths. If you don't take those breaths, your infrastructure and your production is just shit. Our whole strength as Zerg is our mass production. We spam units. So if you just attack with roaches and don't spam units, you're not Zerg. You're not doing what Zerg needs to do to win games. That's our move. Also, make 7 queens every time against Protoss, no exceptions. If you have less than 7 queens, it's a problem. You need 4 queens to be able to defend against Void Ray Harass, Oracle Harass, Prisms, and Spread Creep. Cool, 64 workers. And then now, we need to figure out what is our plan for an army after the roach stuff. Let's actually assess what our army is first, because I don't think this was a technically good attack to go for. We have roaches and lings. What LO is this? This is a platinum game. Lovely platinum. Fun fact, platinum is the only league that when you get promoted, it makes a bird sound. Because it's got like that metal eagle thing. It's really cool. Okay. So, what we have here is a really good example of not attacking an opponent with our full might. We are half-assing this attack because we have 2,339 minerals and 310 gas, which basically means you could, if you weren't supply blocked, and all of this money was army on the field, you could have double this amount of roaches, and you would just win the game. This game is over, like the Cliffs of Dover. If you spam your larva into units, and then you mass some Ravagers, some Roaches, and some Lings, it's over. That's the reason why if you had a Master Zerg in this game against this same opponent, they would have 170 supply, and this Protoss would fall over like a heckin' flimsy rotten tree. So all we really need to do, and this is the really exciting thing about learning and training StarCraft, all we need to do is polish our own stuff. And a lot of these games end up being free wins. We need to spend our money before we commit to the attack. You earned this. You earned this money. 2,773 minerals just of Lings in their face. They would be dead ski. Like super duper dead. They don't have as much banked up. So the Protoss is actually showing up to the fight with pretty much all of their value. Everything that they have is pretty much on the field. We have a bunch of stuff that could exist later on. So we're fighting our opponent with one hand behind our back, so to speak. And we needed to be like spamming units behind this. Imagine, just because we see Void Rays, Oracle, and Immortal and 2 Stalkers, this is one of the rare games where just holding down the Hydra button would also be a free win for yourself. Hydra counters every unit that they're making, pretty much. So as you move out, it's really, really good to have a plan for what your follow-up is. Is my follow-up Roach Ravager Ling? Is it Hydras? Is it a Mutaswitch? What is that going to be? You should think about that for yourself. If I go for a big Roach Ling attack, what is my next move? Because here, it seemed like we were hoping that this would just end the game, but we didn't execute it properly. The Protoss made the correct units to hold Roaches, and we lost all the stuff. So now that the fight is over, we could go back to Larva. But always mouse up in the top right and check your economy, and if you're under drone, just fix that first. That should be the first thing that you fix. We need 80 drones. The fact that this base is not saturated is a problem. And then this is now punishing us for being under-queened. If we had 7 queens earlier, they would have a lot less space to do this. The Oracle would already be dead, and the Void Race would be having trouble against the queens because you'd be able to transfuse. So big takeaways here. Protoss is going to gradually run away with this game, I think, just because we don't have a good economy. We need to know what our worker count is that we're going for, and I advise 70. If you're a Platinum player, try 70. Try to get at least 6 gases, because we're gas-starved here. And then get 2 macro hatches anytime you float 1,000 mins. Just make that an always rule for yourself. I have 1,000 minerals, I double macro hatch. That way I can just hold down, I can just hold down the Zergling key and just spam Lings. Lings are really good as a filler unit. If you have a bunch of money, Lings bite the opponent. They also absorb a lot of shots. A Ling absorbs an Immortal's shot, and the Immortal doesn't get very good value. It's just 22 damage to a Zergling. Do you have any Lings? You have 2 Lings. It doesn't even kill a Zergling. It takes them 2 hits to kill a Zergling. So having Lings in a Roach army is really good, even if you went for range attack upgrades for Roaches. Another thing too that we learned from this, make sure you've spent your bank before you trade. Spend the bank and then trade, and then while you trade out your army with a fight, you should be massing another unit. That could be droning a base, or that could be making another higher tech unit right after that. Or even more of the same army. Any of those are better than freezing and not doing anything. So now we have a good economy. 77 is pretty good. We have a gold base, no spore here, so that's risky. And now this kind of attack, it would have worked if we did this like 3 minutes earlier. but the timing window has closed. So Protoss has gotten now to the point of the game where it becomes very obnoxious for you to take any good fights because they're getting close to maxed, and then they're just going to start spamming cannons. So we're basically dead from here. Our army is too low tech. They have high ground. We took a very bad fight, and we don't really have a good attack angle to go at them. So great match. Thank you for sharing that. And those are the tips that stood out to me. Cheers.